Huang Feihong arrives in Guangzhou with his students and opens the Po Chi Lam Clinic, intending to help ordinary people. But the city's problems go far beyond illness. A group of salt merchants is kidnapping Chinese women and selling them to foreigners. And because they are protected by the local magistrate, the criminals act with complete impunity. When Huang Feihong comes to the aid of a captive who has managed to escape, he earns a black mark on his name. As a cinematic character, Wang Feihong, or Huang Feihong, has gone through several periods of popularity. The first began in the late 1940s and lasted for a couple of decades. Later, in the 1990s, the legendary martial artist was brought back to life for several more years by the creative duo of Tsui Hark and Jet Li, and with such force that the Once Upon a Time in China films are still considered unsurpassed peaks of the genre. 30 years have passed since then, and while films about Wang Feihong have not disappeared altogether, almost every new attempt to enter this territory, aside from a few rare exceptions, ends in a very public failure. At this point, no one is even talking about bold reinterpretations or fresh approaches. It would be enough just to see a film that wouldn't be embarrassing to place alongside those classics from the distant 1990s. The online action film Huang Feihong, the Black Yamen, once again demonstrates what's wrong with these projects. It's a desperate attempt to challenge a master after completing nothing more than a set of accelerated online courses. The new film loses to the old ones across the board in its story, direction, performances, fight choreography, and overall technical quality. And it's not just a matter of budget, which in the Black Yamen was so low that the filmmakers didn't even manage to erase safety wires everywhere. The problem lies in the visuals as a whole. This is a hastily made movie created by people who don't possess even a fraction of the vision that went into the Hong Kong masterpieces of 35 years ago. Formally, the Black Yamen dutifully follows a familiar template. There is the almost saintly Wang Feihong, noble and just, who prefers to resolve conflicts peacefully until the very end. There are villains profiting from the suffering of ordinary people, and there is a lost martial artist who, in his blind desire to become the best, ends up a pawn in someone else's game. On paper, this is exactly what we saw in the very first Once Upon a Time in China, but the difference is striking. How authentic it felt there and how dull, labored, and artificial it feels here. Familiar franchise elements like lion dances or Wang Feihong's innocent flirtation with Aunt 13 only make things worse. Their awkwardness and theatricality are yet another reason to mourn the cinema we've lost. The film's director, He Shuai-Jie, doesn't have much experience as a director, but he does have a solid resume as an action choreographer, and in that respect, the Black Yamen, while nowhere near Tsui Hark's work, is at least not completely hopeless. The fight scenes are heavily constrained by budget, but they do exist, and the actors involved are reasonably athletic. Aiden Wang, who plays Wang Feihong, falls short of Jet Li in every respect, but Du Kang and Cao Shu as his opponents are solid, physically imposing B-movie action stars. And if this weren't a film about Wang Feihong, but about some other martial arts master of the era, the Black Yamen would be judged by a very different standard. Here, though, the verdict is fair. If you're copying the best, you'd better be able to live up to them.